Hello and welcome to the Deep State Consciousness podcast. Today I'm joined by Daisy Bray. Daisy is a massage therapist who uses massage as a vehicle for conscious awakening and healing. Daisy, good morning.
Hi, Richard.
Thank you for joining me to talk about this.
Yes, thank you. It's good to be here.
So we were put in touch recently by Debbie O'Shea Freke, who's doing this meditation massage program that you've been on, which is all about the incorporation of consciousness into massage. So we'll move through and get to that and what you're doing now, but take me back in time and tell me, how did this start for you? Were you into all sorts of conscious exploration and then got into massage, or were you a massage therapist who stepped into the consciousness world? What's your journey with that been?
Good question. Wow. So it's been quite an epic journey. It started around maybe about 6 years ago. So I was in my late teens. And I was actually studying beauty therapy, Lena. And I was really into makeup and I kind of wanted to go into makeup more than anything else.
Yeah.
And during my course, I was offered a free massage course, and I did it, and I just knew that it was what I wanted to do. So it kind of coincided with, in my personal life, I started going through spiritual awakenings, or really expansive states. So that's kind of how it began. So I was studying massage, and I got really into spirituality more or less at the same time. And it was really through my own healing. So I went through my own healing journey, but I was firstly really into the kind of ungrounded spirituality, and very much like the Indian traditions, and more of transcendental than anything else. So that kind of went on for a good 3 or 4 years, and really into the positivity, light movement, all of that. So it was a very kind of typical New Age journey at first. And then I went to India, and I followed a guru for a few months, and I kind of went into even more of the Indian stuff, and that's basically what happened. And then I came out of that through going through my own Underworld Journey. So I fell into quite a dark place after coming back from India, and that kind of brought me more into the embodied side of it, and incorporating deep healing into my own practice. And that really seems to be the direction that my life is going, so personally and professionally.
It just strikes right from the start there. You're doing makeup therapy, which is the most periphery part of oneself, okay, in appearance. And you're also going into the depths, so you've got the full spectrum of your.
I know.
Right from the get-go.
I'm not into makeup really now, but I feel like I've had 2 different lives, who I was before I got into all this and who I am now. It's been a real epic transformation. But I was really into that kind of stuff when I was younger, and I wanted to be a TV presenter, and I was really loud and very extroverted. And then through my own going through my own darkness and my own deep healing journey, I've really come more into embodied and the deep, what I consider the deep work. So I mean, I still wear makeup obviously, and I'm still it's not in any way I'm against it or anything like that. But it's just really been a journey of going into deep states and really going into my body.
So there's a transition there, and I didn't know your story prior to sitting down for this, but it sounds very similar to my own, that I became interested in spirituality in my late teens, had some awakening experiences, and everything was on the up for a few years, and I was interested in the whole spectrum, from the New Age to Indian mysticism and Zen Buddhism and all sorts. And then I hit a kind of wall of darkness and depression, and going through that whole thing, had to become more embodied and look at what was in the body and stored there. and that then went on and became
Wow.
kind of embodied spirituality from them. So there we go. We seem so far. I was never into makeup, but aside from that, we've got a similar biography. So
Great. So we're the lucky ones, really, right?
yeah.
You've got to come home to the body, which is like where it's at, isn't it?
So all the while through this, were you involved in the massage work?
Yeah, pretty much. I was living in Leeds from being like 18, 19 until I moved to the wilderness. I moved to the wilderness when I was like 22, and I felt like a real calling to the wilderness, which is it was really the start of like my kind of underworld journey. It kind of began like I went through like a 4 ego breakdown from then really. So yeah, sorry, I've lost the question. So yeah, massage. So I was doing massage in Leeds for a good 2 years or so, and then whilst I was traveling things, I still did it. But then when I went through the darkness, I stopped doing it because I was really afraid that I would like spread my darkness to people. So I was like petrified of people like somehow like getting the darkness that I was feeling. So I stopped doing massage for about 2 years. I know that sounds ridiculous, but that was
no, I can fully understand that.
And like I was really frightened that people would I would pass on what it was that I was going through. So I've really been coming back to massage since the Deeper Weight course, the meditation massage course last summer really. That was kind of like really brought me back into it, because I lost it for a couple of years, but yeah, I'll always do it.
I'd like to know a little bit, but I'd love to talk to the massage, but I'd just know a little bit more about that journey for a start. So did you initially find spirituality, as you were talking about being into the New Age and the Indian stuff, was initially a positive experience that then evoked a more dark sense of things?
Yeah, so I had quite a tough time as a teenager, and basically Indian spirituality and the whole like positivity, everything's light, all of that was really like my way of dealing with the pain that I was experiencing, because I didn't know how to deal with it. So I kind of escaped it through these practices and traditions, and I was very much into like the Buddhist compassion, and that really helped me through like forgiving people on a level. So like I came to some kind of like resolution within myself over like a few years through these practices, and they did help. But I was denying my shadow for most of it, and also like denying other people's darkness, and getting into situations where I was quite vulnerable because I was just really not using discernment. Like I was just really believing that everybody was just really good and only really seeing the good in people, and it was quite naive really. But I guess the whole New Age thing is quite naive. It's not really there isn't really a lot of critical thinking in it. And yeah, I just it really helped me to a point, and then I just had to do the depth work. There was no way out of it. I had to feel the pain and go through this big underworld process. I say big as in like it's quite extreme, just like feeling all of the darkness that I'd suppressed.
Yeah, I think it's the biggest thing you do.
Yeah, so it helped to a point. Like I can't say like the whole New Age movement and is really bad, because I do think that it serves its purpose in a way, but it's not in any way going to help heal the world or
sure. No, I feel that everything I did prior to the point of going into my own darkness got me to a position where I was able to do that then.
Yeah.
Like reading Eckhart Tolle and doing mindfulness and all that stuff.
Exactly.
It got me to a place where I had enough stability within to just about survive sailing on that ocean. So what did the underworld kind of process consist of for you? Was there a particular teacher that inspired you? I don't want to sort of push you.
Oh no, it's fine. I'm totally open to talking about it now, and this is really good for my integration, because I'm still like integrating. But basically what happened was I moved from the city, so I moved from Leeds, and I went to like a retreat centre, and I was doing some really intense healing practices there, without realizing how intense they were. So I was engaging in shamanic practices and holotropic breathwork.
Okay.
And I went into like really expansive states, but I had no idea what grounding was. So I was just like, and I was on this kind of like love and light trip. So I was like going into these really like blissful states. And I spent like a good 3 weeks just like completely blissed out in this like oneness bubble, basically. And I spent like 5 months at this retreat center. And I did a lot of deep healing, and then when I left, I went back to the city, and all of my like conditioning came back, and I just went into this real like confusion. But because I was really ungrounded, it gets worse. I thought that I would to my conditioning, I was experiencing that it was my conditioning that was making me suffer, and that was like how I was conceptualizing it. So I thought that going to India and attempting to like destroy my ego would be a wise thing. So it wasn't like as extreme as that. Like, I had a friend that was going, and she recommended that I go. So I thought that I would come to some kind of like peace again, because I was experiencing all of this craziness. So I went to India, and I did kind of find like quite a peaceful state, but I more just suppressed what I was already going through, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah,
I was already going through the underworld process, but I suppressed it by going to satsang and just being like, no, the ego is like, don't listen to me.
kind of what people refer to as bypassing.
Yeah, like I was going through this, like all of this all of this stuff was coming out of me, but I was like I was just completely ignoring it by being in meditation for months. So I almost like just put a lid on it, which is actually what I needed, because I had a lot of deep stuff that I needed to work through. So it was only really when I got back from India, I really realized that I was unwell. I was like, oh my God, like I'm just, my whole body and my mind, I was just like, oh my God, I'm so unwell. I didn't know what was happening to me. And then I just went into just like a full-blown dark night of the soul, and I was in it intensely for like a good year. I was like totally just hated everything, like the darkest of darkness, and I was like really, really in a bad way. So really grateful to like the people who supported me through that time, because I could not have got through it without the people. Like there were times when like I couldn't even work. It was really, really bad. So I started coming out of it like this time last year, I'd say, like last Easter. So the last year has been really like solidifying my self again, and my individuation, and integrating all of my awakenings.
What was the thing that made the difference for you, where you moved from trying to escape that in satsang and meditations, going into it, and then you start to emerge out of it? What helped you to come out of it?
You mean from what helped me to come out of the darkness?
The dark night, yeah.
Well, it's kind of hard to say. Time. I needed a lot of time, because I kind of had to marinate in the darkness. Like it almost like it had to like really like become and allow it to kind of consume me in a way. Like it's, if you're going through that, it's no good to like deny it or suppress it. I just really had to allow what was. So that's basically what I did, and I just sat with my pain for a good part of the year. Yeah, and also then I met people that gave me like a context as to what was happening, and it really that I felt really safe with. And through being seen and met by people that understood what I was going through, that kind of sparked the life in me again. But for quite a while, I was still involved with people who were bypassing. So when I was going through this darkness, people were denying it and saying like, oh, you're just in your ego, and you're just, and I was like, it was making me even further down this rabbit hole. So I think really like stepping away from them kind of people, and being involved with people that were way more integrated and understanding and could really hold space for me, that really brought me back to life. And again, I'm really grateful to them people because they kind of saved my ass. So.
Yeah, I think it's really important to talk about, because I know people get into the new age or spirituality in some way, and everything goes in a good direction for a while, and then there's this big drop off when the darkness emerges, and people maybe will bypass that, or maybe will think, okay, this is a really bad thing, okay, the whole spiritual transformation, because it hasn't worked. It's like maybe worse.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So, oh my God, I've done all this work for years, and I'm like so dark. How is this possible? And but that really is the work, you know.
Yeah, I remember I used to listen to that song by Soul Asylum, Runaway Train. People say it's about heroin addiction, but there are these lines in it like about how on earth did I get so jaded, life's mission so faded, and I can go where no one else can go. I know what no one else knows, but yet here I am just drowning in the rain. And it felt like that to me, like, well, I've had all these meditative experiences. I can go to these places that other people haven't been to, and yet I'm drowning in the rain. What's going on, you know? So it's very important to talk about, and and as you say there, just with being present with these things and being around people who understand it, can provide a context for it, and can also be present and accepting of what's arising, then it transforms.
I'm not trying to change it and tell you to be different or tell you to like lighten up, or because when you're going through that, there is no lightening up. There's no, you couldn't possibly lighten up. You'll lighten up when you've really like held and given space for these parts of you that are in need, right? So, but this is only something that somebody can really understand who's been through it or who's trained in that. So it's really helped having connections with people that really allowed me to just it kind of gave me permission to just feel it, and
sure,
that's fine, and there's nothing.
For me, everything that worked was the teachers that would say, like, be fully with it, more with it, fully present with it as it is, without trying to change or adjust it in any way or transform it or get beyond it or anything. And all the kind of stuff that talked about turning it into something else didn't work. Like it did turn into something else, it did change, but not through my effort to change it. Through just giving a loving presence deeply and fully to it.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. And I'd like to add as well that part of my work, which isn't yet, but what I want to do in the future is helping young people who are actually going through this. Because on this journey, I've met a handful of young people that have gone through the Underworld process completely unsupervised and without mentoring. And it's different for a younger person to go through it than someone who's, say, like past the age of 25, because we don't have the ego stability to hold ourselves. So like in my case, I had episodes of being a little bit psychotic. And the reason why that was is because my unconscious mind flooded my conscious mind. So I wasn't able to, there was absolutely no ego stability. Like I couldn't, in some ways, I couldn't remain present because I didn't have the stability to hold these parts of myself. And that's really the key. And it's something that young people who I have met haven't been able to do. And that's why a lot of young people who are going through this get institutionalized, which is really serious and really sad. And I have a friend who was institutionalized when he was 15. He was going through the Underworld process, and he was institutionalized for like 3 years. And it's something that I'm really passionate about now, because it's really important that elders, so to speak, really understand what's going on a psychological level, and not just like on a mystical, energetic level. And that we can really hold.
Sure. Did your friend even know that this was part of a spiritual process? Because like when I went through it, I wasn't part of it. I never spoke to anyone about it, right? And which seems really strange to me now, because I have a lot of like community around spirituality. But this was, how long ago was it? Like it was over a decade ago, and I had like sort of I would have community, but not not to go into the darkness, right? It was more sort of positive spiritual community, if you like.
Yeah.
And I never felt secure telling anyone about it. And also I didn't know if I was ever going to come out of it. And I didn't know if I, wanted people to know that, if it's going to go on forever, right?
Right. That's how
I
I
felt
felt
comfortable
too.
talking about it after it was over. But what I did have was a context. Okay, so I saw it always as a spiritually transformative journey.
Well, that's the key, right?
Yeah, because if I didn't have that, I don't know what I'd done. I'd have gone to the doctors and put on Prozac or something. Yeah,
exactly. Same with me. Yeah, that's really the key. It's like having the awareness that it is a really, it is the most transformative process you can really go through as a human being, and it's been written about for hundreds of years, like that, and in all the like depth psychology books, like this is what people have written about. But if a young person doesn't know that, then of course it's just crazy, like they're just crazy. That's how people can't see them, and it's really important that young people don't get labelled in that way, and that they're able to be supported and held so that they can actually get the gifts from the underworld, because it's like, this is how we like find our soul, is through going through the underworld process. So yeah, on the side note, I'm really interested in helping people with that. So that's something that's really good that's come from my process, that I really feel a calling to facilitate that for young people in the future.
So what does that look like? I mean, we can come back to this in the future and explore more about the process and this kind of thing. But I just want to ask you now, coming out of that and reintegrating into massage, and sorry, just as an aside, it makes perfect sense to me what you were saying about being reluctant to do massage during that period, because I was very, very interested in energy healing back when I was in it. And it was also like, oh, I don't know if I should be doing it, because I feel such a weird energy in myself, such a depressed energy, and how that affected. That's just my aside there. But you've come out of that, and you're working particularly with massage as a vehicle for this deeper teaching. What does that all look like for you now?
Well, it seems to be going that way. Like I never imagined that, but it really does feel like, if you in any way believe in destiny, like that's something that's really come from this process. Is that my friend Ollie, a good friend of mine, I don't know if you know him, Ollie was it?
I do, yeah.
He recommended me to go on Debbie and Tim's course, and I had no idea really what it was. But as soon as I got there and we spent the weekend learning it, I knew that I was like, oh my god, this is part of my work, absolutely, and helping people come into really deep states and to really, really go into the body, using the mind too. So yeah, it's really transpired that this is a part of my work, and I've had quite an unfolding from this. So
I'll just provide just a slight bit of context for anyone who's out there at the moment who doesn't know Tim and Debbie's work. So Tim Freke is a kind of philosopher, mystic, very into the non-dual traditions, and although he would probably argue that point and say he's developed his kind of own philosophy around that, but he does these awakening weekend things which are quite profound in how consistently people awaken to some deeper aspect of themselves in it. And his wife Debbie is a professional masseur. I've just forgotten the gender roles in that one. Anyway, that
one of them.
She's incorporated that awakening into massage therapy to do this meditation massage program. So that's how we connected. And so what does that look like then when you do a massage? Because there's so much depth that you're bringing in through conscious awakening, and then awakening to darkness too, and healing.
Right. Yeah. I'm just kind of exploring it at the moment. So it really is like, I'm still in the process of unfolding the gifts of deep awake, ultimately, of the massage. So it will unfold, and like I'm kind of keeping like a diary as to like how people's experience of it. But so far, people have experienced like really, really deep states, and really really deep relaxation. I've had one of one of my clients had some actual trauma actually come up from her body, so it really went into some like deep places for her. Yeah, I've had also all kinds of experiences from people, but really just really deep blissful states, which is really great. But as I said, it is unfolding, so I'm not really so set on like a structure of exactly how it is.
Yeah, sure.
People's responses are always really different. It just depends on what they need.
I can totally see it, because just after the coming out of the darkness experience, I actually did a massage and bodywork course. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I was never interested to work doing massage, but I was interested in energy healing, right? And I felt that it would be interesting to have a more Western mindset with the whole energy healing thing, and look at the body in terms of anatomical balance and this kind of thing. So that was my overt reason for doing it. But I think on a deeper level, it was a way of my psyche getting more in touch with the body and having a very physical, hands-on body connection thing.
Absolutely, it's very
to emerge from the psyche then. And I would notice, like, I would have work done on, let's say, my hamstrings or something, and then like a few hours later, memories would emerge of like something that happened as a child. And then they had because I was doing it in a conscious way, there was a spaciousness in which they could process themselves and release them. But I think it was going that much into the physical, I think, was a part of the transformative journey. And I think it's true for a lot of people that stuff is accessible, and there's a level of integration that is possible when the physical body is brought into this transformative process.
Absolutely. Yeah, it happens through the body. So working with the body is definitely, in my experience as well, a really big part of it. And I think really the integration of embodied spirituality ultimately is to really emphasize taking care of the body and working with the body, rather than this like transcendental out of the body whole movement and lineages that I really feel like we're coming away from as a collective, because it doesn't honor the earth and it doesn't honor the body, and it can be quite damaging in many ways. Because really we have to go through the body in order to find the light.
Yeah, I think we're coming away from it too. I mean, that's one thing that I feel very positive about, is the kind of shifts that have gone on in spirituality culturally.
Me too.
The last decade. And it starts off with like one person or a few people writing a book saying, no, we should get into the body, or we shouldn't run from our darkness, we should just be with it or something. And then that becomes something that more and more people are embracing as an idea then, as the years go by.
Yeah, I agree totally. So did I cover the question about the meditation massage? Did I cover everything that you wanted to say?
Is there anything else you'd like to say about it?
What would I like to say about it? I just feel like it's a really important step in the evolution of massage. Really, is combining meditation and being guided and facilitated by somebody who's really embodied. I think that's really the next step, and I think that Debbie and Tim are really on the, what's the expression? They're kind of on the verge of creating like a whole new paradigm for massage and deep states. I think it's really, I feel really grateful to be a part of that, and it's really a really wonderful transformative experience. If anyone can find somebody who can do it, I'm sure there'll be more and more people that are training in it. So it's wonderful, and I feel really excited about it and the future of Deep Awake, and I hope more and more people train in it.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see how it develops. And one of the things I've spoken to Tim and Debbie about with regard to it is the idea of awareness itself being healing. Okay, so when the client is placing awareness on their body in the receiving of a massage, and going into a deep conscious state and doing that, and when the therapist is placing awareness on the body, I'm interested to see what that changes on the level of the body and the psyche, because we all know that awareness is healing. We all know that, like, what children want when they're running around is to be paid attention to. We all know that in ourselves, when we give awareness to hurt feelings, they start to resolve. So what happens when you bring that into a bodywork context then? And of course, like, there are all these different forms of energy healing out there, from the whole plethora of them. And I think, you know, one of the core things in them that it is the important part is that application of awareness to just holding another person and bringing awareness to an injured area or anything. And that's something that, yeah, I'm very interested in how that develops in a massage context then.
Me too. Yeah, I'm really interested in it too, and that's really something that I'm really, really passionate about, is just presence. It's just being really, really present, and encouraging the client to be as present as possible too. And that's really, in my opinion, where the magic happens, is through presence, and just really, really engaging with any parts of the body and psyche that want to be looked at through the journey of meditation massage. So
it's also, when I found out Debbie was doing this, the other thing that I thought was great was it's another access point to spirituality. So people who wouldn't necessarily engage with either energy healing modalities or with deep conscious exploration, but would have a massage, suddenly have a gateway into that. And the massage is you know, as a society, we're not really comfortable with the inner world so much, but we're kind of more comfortable with the physical body in some way, willing to engage on that level. So I think it's a really interesting vehicle to bring the deeper spiritual stuff to people then.
Yeah, I agree so much, and that's my experience of it with clients, is helping people really, really come into their inner world, and and become really comfortable in their bodies and in their deeper states. It's not something that generally people have the urge to explore. So through meditation massage, that really emphasizes it, which is something that I really love, because it's if somebody comes and has a treatment who hasn't ever explored that, it brings them into a whole new dimension, and it's really, really valuable and can have really, really positive effects for people, and it has done in my experience. So I agree totally. I think it's a really important aspect of bringing in people's spiritual inner world to everyday life, and making that more accessible for people, and not just something that we have to go to India and do, or go to a retreat center and do. It's something that we can create the space in our lives through the treatment, or through just being at home. You know, like, I recommend my clients to kind of engage in aspects of the meditation massage at home, and it really helps people to bring it into their daily lives, which is really important. So yeah, it has a lot of benefits. Right, I could go on forever and talk a lot.
Well, maybe we will, but like in the future, right? Because I'd love to talk to you again and go into all these different parts in more depth and detail. But I think that's great for today. So thank you very much indeed, Daisy, for doing this. I'll link to your website below. I'll also link to Debbie's meditation massage website, so people can find out about that. And thank you very much.
You're so welcome. And I just want to say that I'm not actually doing Deep Awake at the moment in a professional way, just because I'm still kind of transitioning. So I'm finding a place to really birth it that people would be able to have it. It's not something that's really taken off in Inverness, just because alternative therapies aren't very well known here, and people aren't open to it, which is been my experience of it. It's not in any way a bad thing. It's just it's just how it seems to be. So I'm looking for a place that I'm going to be birthing this. So just to let you know, and anyone who watches this, I don't have a place to offer Deep Awake meditation massage at the moment. but for future reference, if anybody wants to go on my website and see and
yeah, great, yeah, and
his work
definitely
and everything, then
it'd be great to speak to you again, you know, when you have fully birthed it and have had a lot of clients come through, and to see what effect it's having. Yeah,
definitely. So yeah, we'll keep in touch,
yeah,
and let me know if you want to do any more videos.
I'm sure I do.
To talk about.
Thank you, Daisy.
You're welcome. Have a great day.